Good evening, guys. It's Tommy at Northern Ear Reactions again. How are you? I hope you're all doing okay. Tonight I'm listening to an artist called Dave. Now, Dave is a UK grime artist. He's one of my favourite UK artists right now. And for those of you that don't know what grime is essentially an edgier, harder hitting form of rap. Grime has always been known as having very explicit, often violent lyrics. However, in the last couple of years, with artists like Dave, grime is starting to show itself as a more intelligent genre. You know, there's lots of wordsmiths coming to the fore, really speaking about important things rather than just violence now. But going and looking for the words and the lyrics, because that's really what Dave has to offer. This song is Question Time. Now, I'm not sure what it's about. The only thing that I'm thinking is he likes his politics, and in the UK we do have a politics show on TV called Question Time, where we invite members of the public to come in and ask some very pressing questions to leading figures in public or in politics. So maybe it's about that. Anyway, Dave, Question Time. Let's see what he's got to offer.
Question for the new Prime Minister. How do you have a heart so sinister? How are we so wasteful when people are dying in Somalia, Afghanistan, Egypt, Libya? The irony is we have no business in Syria, but kids are getting killed for all the business in Syria. And then they try and tell you that it's ISIS. In their attempts at killing it, how many civilians died? So what's the difference between us and them? When you got drones killing kids just touching 10, then when a bomb goes off, every politician's lost like that last strike. It didn't kill 100 men. You ain't the same as them, but all that fuel for the fire is what you gave to them and what you take from them.
Oh.
All my life I know.
Okay. What a clever line. The fuel for the fire is what you give to them and what you take from them. We only seem to be going into countries where we can take oil. Let's go back. Let's just hear that.
Lost like that last strike, it didn't kill 100 men. You ain't the same as them, but all that fuel for the fire is what you gave to them and what you take from them. All my life I know my mum's been working, in and out of nursing, struggling, hurting. I just find it fucked that the government is struggling to care for a person that cares for a person. So where's the discussion on wages and budgets, how they made them redundant? When I was a young'un, the letters in her car said my mum was overdraft, but somehow I still had dinner money in my pocket. And even the little things like ordering pizza were probably the reason for overtime in the evening. 5 till 10, 6 hours of sleeping. For 22 years my mum was doing it cleaning, dreaming that her kids would have a better life, going bed at night, struggling with getting by. That's the reality for millions of people in a nation where a lot of us were looking for a second try. A question for the new Prime Minister.
That verse is even more prevalent now with coronavirus that's going on. For years we've been saying that the NHS is overworked, understaffed, underpaid, and what he's just said there, how can you not care for a person who cares for a person? He says we came here for a second try at life, but actually the reality that we've got is struggling to get by, struggling to have this second try at life. I think he's great. I think Dave is fantastic. Let's go back in.
Question for the new Prime Minister, and please tell me if I'm being narrow-minded, but how do we spend so much money on defence and weapons to wage war when the NHS is dying, bursting at the seams? And what about the people that voted for us to leave for the money that it would see? 350 million we give to the EU every week that our health service needs. But now them politicians got what they wanted. Can you see an empty promise or a poster on the street? Nurses in tears because they're working every hour of the week and they still don't have the money that they need. You brought the heart of the nation to its knees. Underpaid, understaffed, overworked and overseen by people who can't ever understand how it feels to live life like you and me. Patients lying in the corridors because doctors can't even find a bed for them to sleep. I remember A&E and all them sickening screams of a little girl waiting for a surgeon to be seen. Privatized healthcare, guns for police, increased uni fees. Is this what they're selling us? Well, let me remind you, just in case you've forgotten, that we live in Great Britain, not in Donald Trump's America. Speaking of America, stating the president, with all due respect, I've got something to say to them. I just find it funny you can't give a hand to Palestine, but you can trade whole arms with Saudi Arabia.
I might have missed that if he didn't show me in the video. It's just funny how you can give a hand. You can't give a hand to Palestine, but you can trade whole arms with Saudi Arabia. Let's go back in.
Saudi Arabia. Look, I got a question for the new Prime Minister. At Grenfell Tower, your response was ridiculous. You hid like a coward behind your 5 million, dodged responsibility and acted like you're innocent. And I can see you're terrified. You're not good at telling lies. I'm getting why you stay away from everything that's televised. You look like a robot and you don't speak with any life. It feels to me like any guy in press could have said them lines. Imagine going to the council for the safety of your block and you got kids but they're ignoring you at every time. Everyone who knew about that cladding should really be going prison under rule of joint enterprise. But if it ain't a little kid with a knife, I bet that judge is going easy when he's giving him time. They don't deserve to be free. Any builder MP that knew about the conditions but did it to save cheese. When I listened to the things that the residents had seen.
So anyone that doesn't know, because I know that a large proportion of you are from the US, he's talking about an event that happened in 2016 where a tower block of flats called Grenfell Tower in London, there was a fire in one of the flats. I think it was a fridge or something that set on fire, and the fire spread to the outside of the building. And on the outside of the building there was this cladding, this plastic face, if you like, on the building, and it's come to light now that it wasn't safe. It didn't pass certain safety measures. It was actually flammable. So when the fire hit it, the whole building went up, and I think about 70 people died. But it comes out since, now I might be wrong, but I think it's come out since that the people who made the decisions on which suppliers to use, potentially knew that it was unsafe, but it was just cheaper, so they went with it anyway. He's talking about real stuff here. Let's go back.
MP that knew about the conditions but did it to save cheese. When I listened to the things that the residents had seen, I was so shocked I couldn't even speak. Families they know that had died in their sleep. How you choke on the smoke when you're struggling to breathe. The glow from the fire, the panic when you hear all of the sirens, the crackling, the popping and the muffled out screams. The fear in the eyes of a man that was trapped who jumped 15 floors from the tower to the street. I could only hear a fraction of the pain and the grief. Closing my eyes, trying hard not to cry at the joy and relief in the face of a man when a woman from the flat said his neighbour was alive. No help from the council when keeping any list or the people that survived, his neighbours and peers. And for that whole meeting I could see that he was trying, so his smile was an island in a sea full of tears. Look, I got a message for our old Prime Minister, David Cameron. I mean, you fucked us, resigned and sneaked out the firing line. I want to know how you managed it. And are you bathing in the sun while them papers have a run at the woman that you left here to handle it? You gonna teach your little lad to be the man that's got a plan, and then the moment that it fails to abandon it? Are there bullies in his school? And when you pick him up after class, can you feel his embarrassment? I mean, you never gave a fuck about the youth, and that's the truth. There's no sympathy for you or your cabinet. I really wish I could have seen how you were scrambling when you lost the referendum that you had to win. I feel like politicians are all addicts in a big fat game, but it's lives that you gamble with. I've got a question for the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn.
Jesus. David Cameron brought up the idea of having a referendum for the UK to leave the European Union. I think he thought it was going to be a landslide to stay in the European Union. He was so confident, so smug, and then he lost, and Britain voted to leave. And pretty much instantly, I think it was that day, he resigned. And then Theresa May, who is the person that he's speaking to in the first part of this song, the new Prime Minister, had to step in and kind of had to inherit this shit show, basically, that David Cameron had left behind. Apologies if you're in the US and this song is going over your head a little bit, but hopefully you'll see the kind of stuff that this guy's talking about. Anyway, rewind and let's go back in.
Big fat game, but it's lives that you gamble with. I've got a question for the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn. Where do you want to take the country to? Honestly, I want to put my trust in you, but you can understand why if I got trust issues. Do you really have the faith of your party? Do you really have faith in the party that will come with you? And how do you plan on keeping all the promises? Man, if I'm being honest, sir, I'm struggling to get with it. I just ain't getting it. Everybody's great until you get them into office, and then guys start forgetting things. Prove to us you're different. Don't promise me anything. Go and get justice for a Sean Charles and Edison. And if you haven't had the thought to vote yet or protest because you don't really see the progress, I hope you know that what they're saying is affecting us. The small steps are way better than no steps.
Great. Loved it. Loved that. I liked how at the end he went from questions to politicians through to the voters. You know, if you haven't voted yet or if you haven't protested, then do it, because the things that they're talking about has an effect on you. Small steps are better than no steps. And this is exactly what grime is about, okay? Grime especially is a chance for people in the lower end of the socio-economic ladder to have a voice and to challenge the status quo, to tell people what it's like to grow up in places like East London in poverty, and also to celebrate it when people make it out of there and make something of themselves. And what I really like about Dave is he could just join the rest of them and start rapping about girls and drugs and fighting and money, but he doesn't. He comes out and he makes stuff like this. I don't really think I've got anything else to say about this particular song because I've already stopped it halfway through and started talking about the different lines, but hopefully you can understand what I see in grime a little bit, and he's not let me down with this song at all. I'm really, really pleased that I picked this song, and I'm really, really pleased that it's turned out the way that it has, because this is such a hard-hitting song and actually with coronavirus really prevalent and something that we should all be listening to. So I hope you've enjoyed it. That was Dave, Question Time. If you've liked the video, then check out some more Dave. Check out Psycho, check out Black. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. What did you think of Dave's song there? What's your experience with grime and hip-hop in the past? Has this changed it slightly? Let me know. But that's me. I'm going to say goodnight. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you again soon.